My name is Rev Christy Corna, and again, Reverend Darlene is out visiting her father and family, and it's just so wonderful that all of you chose to come today, and happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. There are a gazillion directions that I could go in today, but alas, I only have like 20 minutes to do this, so I won't. First of all, it's my birthday. So I couldn't think of a better place to spend it, right? With all of you, my spiritual community. And it's Father's Day. And this has been an incredible year of change for me since my father made his transition last year. It gave me the opportunity to rewrite my story, if you will, and how I identified myself in the world. It's summer solstice. It's all about the light. It's the first day of summer solstice, and I love light. I think that being in the energy of the day where it's the longest stretch of light during the day and we return our journey back towards the darkness or our inner selves is where what I like to call it. That's the way I look at it. It's an important day for me. And we've just wrapped up a series. Reverend Darlene did a 7-week series on the 7 chakra systems and how it relates to the 7 churches in Revelations. And really, I have been putting a lot of focus and intention on who am I? What is really at the center of who I am? And I love the series on the chakra systems because it allows me to keep focus of all these points and aspects of expression of my own divine light and how I bring that out into the world. I think that is what each of us does, is brings uniquely a gift to the world. That only you can express you, only you can express you. And really what's happening is you are each of us is expressing the divine in all that we do. We are individualized expressions of the one. And in that we are also interconnected. So in focusing on the 7 chakras, I've been thinking about affirmative prayer. Reverend Morgan, you talked about spiritual practice. And what I love is that the word ritual is actually in spiritual. And how I can engage in a practice that supports my spiritual essence, that really supports my divine expression. I have a mission statement that is about empowering others to recognize their spiritual magnificence. I think that my journey, I wasn't just born with a microphone in my hand or taped to my face. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my hand. I've just like every one of us have been finding my way. And what I've been finding my way to is what I call my big S self. And if you say that really fast, my big S self. So we're all walking each other home. It's my favorite Ram Dass quote. And the title of my talk today is The House You Live In. Hafiz, who is a Sufi poet, has a quote that says, "The words you speak become the house you live in." I believe that words are an outward expression, it's a vibration, an outward expression of our thoughts. Our thoughts are often based on our perceptions and our belief systems. When I'm really clear about what I'm speaking, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, and if I'm bringing my spiritual essence into that, I know that I'm fulfilling my greatest expression here. And so the words that we speak are reflections of the thoughts that we think. The thought is creative than what I'm thinking and what I'm saying, and I want to make sure it aligns too with my actions. That level of alignment is what's bringing me wholeness. Now, that's not to say that there aren't times where that shadow aspect of life, or the dark night of the soul, or tragedy such as we've all been experiencing this week with our brothers and sisters in Charleston. It doesn't mean that that doesn't happen, but it is our involvement, our engagement, our experience, and our relationship to that makes all the difference. And so my focus the last few days has really been about focusing on love. Love, absolutely, as Dave's song said, will change the world. And it is my intention to just stay in the love as much as possible. And that has helped me on my personal journey, as well as in ministry, as well as in doing service to others. So I focus on love as being a major aspect of my spiritual practice. When I think of spiritual practice, I also think of affirmative prayer. And if I think of the 7 chakra systems, we go down to the first chakra and rooted in this idea of oneness. And then we bring that awareness up to that creative energy. That creative energy is expressing through each of us. And then we bring that awareness up to our power center, our solar plexus. And then I get to choose, if you will, how I express what I know to be true, that there's only one power, one presence, infinite and eternal. I am an individualized expression of that. That creative energy and potential is moving through me. And then I bring that awareness and center that. And then that becomes my action. I bring that up to raise the vibration of that and the intention of that into the heart space where the love is. And then I bring that up to the throat chakra, because everything that I think and say and do is an outward expression of what I already know to be true. And then I raise that up and hold steadfast to that vision of one life, one heart, one mind, one soul. And I hold that vision as long as I can. And then the crown chakra. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind, has a phrase that gets repeated often, which is open at the top. And I love the concept of the crown chakra being open at the top, where we are infinitely connected to all life, every aspect of life. And you see, the energy is just not going up and out, it circles around again. So life is a constant ebb and flow, a constant flow of energy, a constant flow of light. And how I live my life, when I base it on this self-awareness, the big S self. See what happens when you say it fast? The big S self. Then my life tends to work out a heck of a lot better. I feel better. My relationships are better. My money is flowing more abundantly in my life. I am feeling a sense of oneness and wholeness as I've never felt before. I've had many trials and tribulations, as many of us have, and my intention always, always, always is to keep constant vigilance on my thoughts, constant vigilance on my feelings, and honor them regardless of what they are. I'm not saying I never get mad. I'm a Gemini. I flip a lot. I think that the invitation here is to always, always bring it back home. There is a quote that I want to share with you, if I can find it. Well, maybe I can't find it. Well, Ernest Holmes says, life is a mirror and reflects back to the thinker what we think into it. And that is the aspect of thought is creative. And so that's my intention. Focus on my spiritual practice. Let my spiritual practice be my spiritual being. My spiritual being is what am I doing? What am I doing in every moment? Where's my mind going? Because the words that I speak become the house I live in. And I've done a lot of moving in my life. I've done especially a lot of moving in the last 11 years. And what I know to be true for me is that no matter what seems to be going on and where I seem to be led, if I follow my heart and I have faith and I trust in that divine purpose, that every aspect of my life is supported. I get to feel what I feel, I get to do what I do, I make choices, yet there is something so ingrained in me that knows without a shadow of a doubt, knows that all is well, that there is only love, There is only one life, and that's how I live my life. I was thinking about my father, and I was asked to speak last year at his memorial service, and I thought, wow, I'm new thought. I'm all out there. Thought is creative, and I meditate, and I wear big ohms and all of that. And I'm walking into a congregation of Methodists, but my father was very much a fundamentalist. And so I really wanted to honor his tradition and honor his way of thinking. So I thought, wow, my brother is also a Methodist minister. So I thought, how am I going to do that and still honor my own ideas and perceptions about spirituality and what I think, what God means to me and what the teachings of the Bible mean to me? So I decided to speak on the parable of the prodigal son. And I related that to my father's story because he too had his own journey. And his journey was one of going out there and coming back, and going out there and coming back. And when you think about the parable of the prodigal son, the home, the father in the story represents God, Spirit, to me. This is my interpretation. And the home represents the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is within. Jesus taught us that. There's one son that asked for all of his inheritance because he wanted to go out into the world. He goes out into the world, and I liken that to this part of us, the aspect of us in our lives where we stray, where we go off center. We get our feelings hurt, we get afraid, or we just think something out there is going to make us feel better than really owning it in here. And the point is, you can always come back home. You can always come back home to center. There's the other brother that's resentful as all heck, right? The brother comes home, he's welcomed with loving arms and open arms, and he's welcomed and spends a lot of time in judgment and resentment. And I don't know about you, but I've spent many moments there in judgment and resentment. And see both ideas, thinking that something greater out here is going to make us feel better. Something out here is really going to fulfill that part of us that feels a little bit separate. There's also that aspect, see, there's separation in that, not oneness. And so the other brother represents the other aspect of us where we stand in judgment, where we're a little bit resentful, where we don't understand. There's some resolution or reconciliation in our minds that need to happen, and there's a sense of separation in that as well. But the point is, the home and the Father stay. The Father, the Spirit, Source, Creator, is always welcoming us back. We are always open to coming home to the truth of who we are. And the more I practice that, the more I just don't want to leave home. Unless I go out with all the love and the light that I know myself to be. Don't leave home without that. Yeah, well, we'll bring it back to the times of then, where American Express cards did not exist. But so there's different aspects of us that are always seeming to draw our attention and our focus and to being distracted, if you will, from the truth of who we truly are. One life. If God is all there is, then I know that I am an individualized expression of that. So are you, so are all of us. The actions that we take, things that happen, really don't define us. And what I've been doing this past year is moving into this idea of redefining myself. My father made his transition, and I said, I'm going to rewrite my story. And my world just went. But what happened was, it didn't just fall apart. Felt like it sometimes. But what happened was it opened me up to so many choices, so many possibilities, the absolute experience of getting to know who I am. Who am I? I said I wanted to redefine myself, so who am I? So I've been asking that question for a year on this journey. I call it my She Rose journey, right? My She Rose journey has been one of discovery. But it's not discovery, it's rediscovery. Many years ago, I was just finishing up 4 years, getting my master's degree. I graduated, I got my master's degree in consciousness studies, and I had been in a long-term relationship, like 11 and a half years, and I was already making plans on my plane tickets. I was going out to California. I was going for my licensing panels where I got to sit in front of 3 ministers while they, determined that, yes, ministry's for her. And 2 weeks before I was flying out to California for my licensing panels, my 11 and a half year relationship ended. And it ended abruptly. And I remember thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do now? But the coolest thing happened for me. What happened was, while I was feeling immense pain and sadness and fear and, oh my God, who am I now if I'm not in this relationship? All the ways that I used to identify myself or define myself. While I'm feeling the fullness of all of this change and all of the fear that seemed to come with it, at this very same time I'm feeling all of this, I'm going, wow, look at the timing of this. I'm going out, I'm about to be licensed as a minister. My whole world is opening up. The whole world is before me. I don't know where this is going to take me, but I know I've got great things to do in the world. I know that I want to make a difference in the world. I want to make a difference in the lives of many, many people, even if it's just one person at a time. So while I'm aware and I'm crying and I'm hugging trees and tissues and stuff, and I'm in the pain of it, and at the same time, I'm going, wow. I was actually literally in awe, and what happened was I realized, my center, I realized that while I'm feeling this, I'm also feeling this, and it started to come together, and it merged in such a beautiful way that I finally got, this is wholeness. This is wholeness. When I can recognize that God is present in all things, regardless of the seeming circumstance. My favorite phrase is God's got this because God is this. If all there is one power and presence in the midst of all of that, it's like the little girl shoveling the manure. There's a pony in here somewhere. And so that level of optimism for me really sparked something in my heart, and it really awakened me to a greater sense of me with a capital M as that divine being that I am, that each of us is, when I felt and I saw that merging. So what I've done when challenges have come up or my emotion, I'm a feeler. I'm a feeler. So when my feelings are pinged, right, I move right into, okay, I'm going to feel this, and this is awakening me. What is it awakening me to? What is it awakening me to? That's the wholeness. And it has kept me in the last, that was 2011. I'm obviously not very good at math, but it's been a journey for years where, regardless of the changes, I get to remember the wholeness of who I am. So I offer that to you, this idea of, yes, feel everything that you're feeling and honor that, because it's bringing you to a point of awareness within yourself that you also get to hang on to the faith, where you also get to put into practice this idea of, yeah, while this is going on, I still know who I am. And then you move forward with that sense of wholeness, and it can move mountains. I believe that that's what faith is for me, is to recognize that level of wholeness. It's been interesting. I've been working on this writing project, and I won't tell you the title yet. But my intention is to tell my story, but not tell a story in just letting everybody know the amazing, crazy, I don't know how you ever survived that events of my life, which there were many. It's not just telling the events of my life, but really the message that I want to get across is the experience of it, the process of it, how it awakened me, how it enlivened me, because I know that every one of us has feelings. Every one of us is presented with something that we just can't reconcile right away, and we go, okay, what's this mean? I believe that the process and the honoring of whatever the seeming experience is just a level of awakening. I believe that as spiritual beings, we continue to evolve. I believe that that is Spirit's greatest intention, is for every part of humanity, every part of this planet, to continue to evolve and expand, that life is infinite. So this expansion is just a natural progress. So I was sharing with a friend of mine, and she says it's very much like the hermit crab. The hermit crab, when they outgrow their shell, has to go find a bigger shell. And don't we do that? I mean, if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be walking and I'd still be in diapers. If I didn't dare do something different. I wouldn't be in the line of work that I'm in today because I wouldn't have allowed myself the opportunity to expand in my academics, in my consciousness, if you will, in my thought process. I believe that there are 4 areas in life that all our experiences can be categorized in. One is around relationships, the other is around health, the other is money, that level of exchange, and creative self-expression, which is our work in the world. And all the major changes in my life that I have outgrown, that have invited me to find a bigger shell, have been so life-changing for me on an internal level. This is where I've done my real spiritual growth. This is where I've done my real emotional healing. So like the hermit crab, going to look for a new shell, the hermit crab, I don't know if you are aware of this, is soft-shelled. It's not a hard shell little being. So the point where it crawls out of its shell to go find its bigger new environment, it's all about environment, it's all about conscious environment, is a little vulnerable. But in that vulnerability, when that determination and that courage kicks in, and that awareness that change is necessary, that level of courage, it's not about not being afraid. That's not what courage is about. Courage is about being aware of the fear, like I said, and also knowing that choice is necessary, and having the conviction and the faith to move forward into a greater change. And greater change, is, for me, is all about a greater expression of who I am and who I've come here to be. I believe that all of us have come here to be something amazing. And I believe the one thing that absolutely unifies us in every way is love. I believe that is something that is so universal that it cannot be really described. I'm one of those people that had a near-death experience, and one of the many things of, wow, and you're still here. And people ask me about that, and there is absolutely no way that I can limit that level of awe, that level of feeling and sensing the infinite and peace and love and what that essence really is. There's no way I can put that in words. There's absolutely no way I can put that into words. It's the same as our faith. We can try to describe our faith, but the more words we put to it, right, it seems more limiting. So the invitation for me is to always go into that feeling place. The first step in affirmative prayer is always about recognizing the oneness of the divine, recognizing that God is all there is. And if I can get to God is all there is, and therefore I, along with everybody else, is an individualized expression of the one, then the truth is automatic for me. That's why affirmative prayer is so important to me, because it keeps me anchored in truth. And then the rest, anything is possible. So these hermit crabs, the real magic is happening when the little crab, me, steps out and says, okay, I'm going for it. I need something bigger. That's what happened with the major changes in my life last year. Well, you know that phrase, be careful what you pray for. I was all spiritual, and I said, I'm going to rewrite my story. I am going to redefine who I am. I'm bringing myself to life in a new way. And then I started to move into that, and I ended up changing the work that I do, which was really frightening for me because I've been doing the same thing for about almost 20 years. And my relationship ended again. And all the time, there's a pony in here somewhere. what I realized was I made the choice to redefine who I am. So the bigger question in any day for me is, who am I? Who am I without this relationship? Who am I without this job? Who am I without the defined role of daughter and caregiver? Who am I without this spiritual community? Who am I if I don't have these labels? Who am I beyond the label? Who am I beyond my shell? You see, my shell is just the environment that I support myself in, that supports me, it supports my growth, it keeps me safe, it keeps me grounded, it keeps me involved, it keeps me feeling like I have a purpose and a place. And then there comes a time where we just, even if it's just a little growth, where we get to choose to step into that courage and go for it. Go for it. My last year has been like that, and it is amazing. I have got myself a really cool new shell. Unity of the Blue Ridge. I started coming here because after 20 years of giving, I decided the soul needs to be fed. So I started coming here to be fed, and I have been so fed here that now I feel like I'm at the place in my life where I can give again. I can do some feeding because I've understood the balance of giving and receiving. And this new shell of mine, money looks different, my creative self-expression looks different. I'm writing, I'm reading books, which if you had known me 5 years ago, you'd be like, what? Love reading, I love expanding my mind, I love having fun, I'm out playing more, I'm playing the drum. I bought myself a drum. I'd never played before. I took the drum out for the first time, I was like, and I didn't know what to do with it. And one time I thought, wait a minute, if this is so important to me and this feels like a really cool fit in here and in here, I'm going to sit and I'm going to hold this. And without realizing it, I became one with the drum. It's, and to me, it may sound a little hokey to say that. I became one with the drum. But what happened was I started playing, I closed my eyes, I shut out all the judgment. I shut out all the fear. I shut out all the, what do you think you're doing? You're not a drummer, you don't know how to do this. I shut all that little monkey mind chatter off. I closed my eyes to the distraction of the outer world, and I just felt what was going on for me. And the next thing I know, I'm playing for like 3 hours straight. And I thought, wow, this is about the drum playing me. See, so it's about spirit living through me. It's about spirit speaking loving words through me. It's about spirit saying, look at all you've been through. Be there, hold that light up for people so that they can say in their seemingly darkest moments, I can do this too. Because we all have our experiences unique to each and every one of us, but the truth remains the same. I wanted to share a couple of points on the hermit crab. And this is in relationship to community. Fascinating fact. When there is a colony, a community of hermit crabs, they will often find themselves on the beach, and it's time to grow, it's time to move, it's time to expand. And they line up from the biggest shell to the smallest. When the hermit crab in the biggest shell finds the right and perfect bigger shell for it to crawl into, all the other crabs go in and inhabit the other shell. And isn't that what we do in spiritual community? Each of us has our own genius, as I was talking about before. We have our own genius, we have our own gifts to share, we have our own way of supporting one another. And we're all doing that with the intention and the purpose of opening the heart, opening the mind, expanding the greater sense of who we are as spiritual beings. That's what spiritual community means to me. We are creating that environment for us to shift our beliefs. We are creating that environment for us to feel safe. We are creating that environment for us to feel love. And sometimes that takes courage, but courage is not the absence of fear. Again, courage is just having a strong faith and conviction and remembering who you are in every moment, and that who you are makes a difference. How you bring yourself to life makes a difference. We all stray, we all come back home. The words that we speak, the actions that we take, very important. Spiritual practice is not so much about the doing, it's about the being. So sharing all of that, shining your light as only you can, that's the real gift that we bring to the world. So I wanted to wrap this up with one of my favorite readings. It's called Courageous is the Soul. And it's by that really popular one, Anonymous. Courageous is the soul. Courageous is the soul who adventures into time and space to learn of its divinity. For while we cannot lose, we can feel as if we have, and the loss will seem intolerable. And while we cannot fail, we can think we have, and the pain will seem unbearable. And while we cannot ever be less than who we truly are, powerful, eternal, and loved, we can imagine that we are, and all hope will seem lost. In these moments lie our test, a test of perception, of what to focus on, of what to believe in, of how to act, in spite of appearances. Yes, courageous are the souls who adventure into time and space to learn of our divinity. Courageous indeed. So I want to invite Cecilia to come up and I invite you to just close your eyes, if you will, and we'll anchor this idea of who we are as spiritual being, who we are as love, that the power and the essence of who we are can indeed change the world. And when it comes time to move into something bigger and greater, know that you have an amazing community of support. Know that the divine wisdom of Spirit is always present and guiding you forward, that you always have everything that is required for such a change as you expand your environment and come to redefine yourself in a new way.
Is why I'm here. Let me be an open channel. If love is why